before the COVID-19 pandemic, Social Security's finances were unsustainable. And that was for three reasons. First, the retirement of the baby boom generation meant that there was a larger and larger ratio of people receiving retirement benefits to people paying into the system. Second, rising life expectancies mean that people get retirement benefits for more and more years, and that raises the cost of the program. And third, greater income inequality means that a lower and lower share of earnings in the economy are taxed to finance Social Security, which has over several years eroded the revenue base of the program. As a result of those three factors, Social Security faced a long-term mismatch between cost and revenue. Starting in the next few years, costs were already supposed to exceed revenue, and that gap was going to grow wider and wider as time went on. For years, this has been clear. And for years, Congress has done nothing to restore the long-term solvency of the program. And as the government kicked the can down the road, we've moved inexorably closer to the day when reserves in the trust funds will be depleted. And now that day will come sooner than we'd expected just at the start of this year. Data so far are very preliminary, but we can already see the current recession affecting Social Security's finances in a few ways. First, and the most important, is through the program's revenue. Most of the money that Social Security gets and pays out in benefits comes through payroll taxes. And when a worker is laid off, they don't pay payroll taxes. Meanwhile, even workers who have kept their jobs have seen their hours cut, or they've had raises delayed or canceled. And when those workers are earning less money, they pay less into Social Security. So the data that we've seen so far back up this theory of how COVID might affect Social Security's finances. Since February, we've lost 10.7 million jobs in the economy. That's 10.7 million people who are no longer paying into the Social Security system. Meanwhile, between February and April, total wage and salary earnings fell by 11%. And as of August, they're still 4% below February's level. Unsurprisingly, as a result of lower employment and lower earnings, collections of the withheld taxes that fund Social Security changed from pretty strong growth earlier in the year pre-pandemic to pretty steep losses since about April. So through March of this year, payroll taxes have been running about 6% above last year's level, and since April, they've plunged 8% below last year's rate. All of this suggests the pandemic and recession are really dragging down Social Security's revenue by a sizable amount. There are other data you could look at. For instance, are more people claiming retirement insurance? We've seen a surge in retirements as older workers are forced out of the labor force. This recession will overwhelmingly affect Social Security's finances through its effect on revenue. And what we've seen so far is that effect looks to be pretty dire.